right, welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, audience out there. Happy to have you with us today.
Well, hello, Mike DiCarlo. How you doing?
Doing well, Tommy. I'm doing very well. Today's main topic is going to be all around the unification of Datamart with the Fabric data warehouse or SQL databases that are coming out now. Currently, SQL databases are currently in preview. This will be our topic. This was an announcement made by Priyanka on May 7th, 2025. We just want to bring some more awareness to this around, hey, just FYI, things are changing. This is no longer really going to be supported. This was a Power BI only database thing that you could get your hands on. But Datamarts are no longer going to be available. And we're getting close on time here, Tommy. October 1st, 2025, the existing Datamarts will not be supported and will starting to be cleaned up from workspaces. So to avoid losing your data and breaking reports built on top of this stuff, you need to take action before October 1st. So I just want to call this out. There are a number of accelerated scripts that we can talk about here later, what those do, and how to help you migrate into something that is more appropriately Fabric.
I'm going to be a little more clear than you, Mike, because you said the unification of Datamarts. This is AKA, in case you're not hearing it, it's the end of the line for Datamarts.
End of life.
End of life. Yes.
Of Datamarts. So that being said, we'll go back into that. We'll get into the main topic there. Let's do a couple of news and announcement things. We did have a great announcement this week. I believe that was on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. Was that when it came out? The Power BI blog came on the 12th. Oh, so on Tuesday, basically. So Tuesday is, of course, right? We do a podcast episode, and immediately right after our episode, the blog post comes out around all the new features for Power BI. So let's talk about new features here. What kind of new things came out? Let's do a little
draft. Yeah.
What do you call it, Tommy? What's the thing that we call here?
Draft.
Yeah, a little feature draft here. We'll pick the best features for this month. And I will admit, we're looking a little light, but I think that's because a Fabric conference is coming up next month. So I think we're kind of potentially, this is typically what happens when Fabric conference Vienna and Fabric conference Las Vegas were happening. Every time right before the big conferences, there was a lot of announcements trying to be held back a little bit before the main conference. So these tend to be just more like support and lightweight things. But I do think there are some interesting things here worth picking. All right, Tommy, draft is to you. You pick first.
All right, so I'm going to try to not pick yours here. And if I'm going to pick one from here as my first round pick, I'm going to stick with the Copilot and AI. You're actually 3-in-1 here. So
okay.
It's like instead of getting one blue chip prospect, you're trading for 3 up and coming. And I do like actually some of these. I'm not sure how they're going to turn out, but I think there's a lot of potential here. So what we're doing with Copilot, well, there's actually 3 good ones. Copilot and embedded reports for SharePoint Online, meaning I can use Copilot if I'm in a SharePoint page with an embedded report. I really like this because not so much as in SharePoint, Mike, but because it's allowing you to have the same experience with Copilot in all the different places that Power BI is going to be. And I think this is really important to get that adoption of Copilot. Number 2 is a GA, which I mean, anytime I get
one of those,
yeah, let's celebrate.
Yes, it's
Copilot,
a celebration.
This is one of those strange ones. You're like, how is that not GA? Like, what bugs were there before? But Copilot to write measure descriptions are now generally available. So now Copilot can write through all your measures and write a description. Which
it's basically a button now. It's just a button inside the bottom of your measure. Here, generate with Copilot. The only downside of this is if I'm doing generate with Copilot, it's doing generation. It looks like it's doing it on one thing at a time.
Right.
Can we do we can select multiples? Does it automate yet? We have
So the problem is I can do this in an IDE like VS Code, and I can get that done with Tyndall in a second.
So yeah, you're also right there too, Tommy. Like the UI doesn't really need to support it.
Right.
Tyndall supports it, right? That's really what you're right. If you want to be able to document lots of things, you prompt the VS Code or you prompt
the basic
desktop
user experience. This works kind of thing.
I agree.
You and
there's no reason to overbuild this feature when you can just say, if you really want the fancy stuff, just go to Tyndall. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. And then finally, the last blue chip here is the filtered report summaries and answers in standalone Copilot, which simply means that any filtered report summary that you have works in the standalone Copilot. So if you filtered a report, that will translate to your standalone experience. And I think this is a big distinction because we've always dealt with the semantic model, and you've looked at, well, and even if I had a filter report, Copilot or these AI summaries are going to look at everything. So this is simply context over in that filtered, the standalone experience. So these are, to me, not so much these amazing new features, but help seamless experience.
I mean, I'm okay with that. And let me ask a very pointed question, and feel free to bounce my question off, Tom, if you don't really like it. How often are you using the Copilot standalone experience? Are you finding valuable things from it yet? Or is it just kind of more of a novelty at this point? You haven't really landed how does this fit a workflow?
It's so much experimentation right now, Mike, to be very honest, because I'm only doing it with prepped with data with AI. As long as I prepped my data, because if you don't, you're leading to a lot of wonky answers and just a lot of fluff. So to me, if you're going to use this, it's going to be in that prep for AI.
I think prepping for AI is going to need to become a very robust feature in its own right, just to really support really solid or decent answers coming out of the AI Copilot piece of this. It does feel like we're on the cusp of something very different here, just because we're getting the ability to tune a little bit these agents and add our own instructions. I think that's really been helpful because, again, the AI is not going to understand our data out of the box. Right. We need human instructions, how we want the answers to be responded. What is our business users language they use? How does that translate to what the AI is supposed to be doing? I think that's going to be a really big win there. Okay. Love that. One of the things I'm actually interested in here a lot is there is now a new feature. Again, this is another one, Tommy. When was the last time you remember a Power BI Pro feature appearing?
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
A pro user getting a new thing, right? Everything we've been pretty much for the last 6 to 9 months, everything's been Fabric. It's been workspace in Fabric. It's been AI things. It's been agency things. All this stuff is a 100% mostly, I mean, maybe with the exception of the Copilot home experience, but even that still, you need a Fabric SKU, I think, to run that one as well. So that doesn't work either. So outside of Fabric, there hasn't been really many pro level features. It's been kind of like business as usual. There's been a couple visual changes for pro users because that's Power BI, but outside of that, nothing. So now there is support for organizational apps inside a pro workspace. I just did a demo on this one for our class. We do a training.tips class. We're doing more Q&A and live demos around different features that come out from Power BI. And to that end, the organizational app is a very interesting feature. And this is coming from a Fabric workspace. It is now available to us in the pro workspaces. I like this feature a lot. There's a mental shift I had to make just very briefly around this one. As I'm playing with this new feature.
Interesting you picked this.
Typically, you would do one workspace, one app. One app from the workspace. So you could have a one-to-one relationship. This breaks that mold. You can now have a single workspace with as many apps as you need from a single workspace. So if you want to group a lot of reports, if you want to have one single BI team, and that's where they dump all the report pages, that's fine. You can pick and choose which reports are getting added to that organizational app. The difference here is in the workspace app, you have an organization and an audience. You have the org, you have audiences of that organizational app. So you can put 30 reports in it and then show different reports to different people based on who the audience was. It was kind of a clunky UI, a little bit hard to set up. Am I giving sharing to everyone or not? It was a little bit harder and more difficult, I think, to set up. This new organizational app area, much easier. You could think of each app you build can be its own audience by itself. So the audience thing's basically been removed. The whole UI is simpler. I like this new organizational app. This is what should have been built with apps originally, I think.
You know, it's interesting you picked this one, especially for the pro, because I think I would trade you away if I had this. Because, Mike, the selling point for me with org apps is the fact not just that I can choose things from other workspaces, but it's all the different products I can put into an org app. A pro doesn't have a lot of options. It's really reports, scorecards. I don't think you even get metrics sets with pro, right? So
I'm gonna argue with you a little bit here, Tommy. So I'm gonna agree with you. This is potentially a precursor to something better, which, to your point, I do want my organizational app to have a metric set in it. I do want my organizational app to have a exploration in it. Those are experiences that I think I want. We don't have them today. So to your point, Tommy, like it is good that we're getting this.
Yeah.
But I want to also argue with you. Like I would agree with you. We need more in the organizational app. I should be able to add a PDF. I should be able to add other objects. I should have explorations. I should have a dashboard built in. Like all the artifacts that we should be able to get in Pro should be available to us inside the organizational app. Hopefully we get there, but I'm more interested that the fact that the Pro user now gets these things, and now we're no longer bound by. I mean, how many people are just to be honest, Tommy, our best practice has always been share with an organization, share with an app. That's the way to share.
Yeah.
Build the workspace. It's for developers. It's people making the content. If you're going to give read-only content, use the app to share it, period.
But if you're on a Pro 2, if your whole organization's on a Pro 2, we got other things to talk about too. And that
not necessarily.
Your
company buys an E5, you get Pro by default. Like, so some organizations are thrusted into this, like they just have it there automatically. And they're like, well, we don't really know how to turn it off easily without having everyone added to a capacity that's been automatically turned off to kind of disable it. There's really not an easy method to, like, if you get an E5, you have Power BI.
Is this like when you download a free iPhone app and it's like, it's free, but you got to like click the X to get away from the advertisements? This shows you the report, but before it shows you a Fabric advertisement first.
Yeah, please use Fabric.
This is a better experience. I'm surprised, Mike, you didn't pick. I'm actually really surprised you didn't start your draft with the Tyndall view enhancement.
That's my second one. That's my other pick. So I'll do my second pick now, and I'll kick it back to you. So my second pick would be in the modeling space. I do love code. I'm a developer. I love doing all these things. Tyndall view enhancements are the way to go. That's the way to do that. And appreciate that one. Hey, Alex Powers is here. I got a comment here. Alex, thanks very much. Appreciate you providing a donation today. That was fun. But yeah, we're hoping. Yeah, Alex is hoping that Brad is going to appear today with more discussions around data warehousing. So we'll see what happens.
Power Query's still alive. It's still good.
So Tyndall view enhancements are fun. They're doing. It's not a major change here. It's like some feature enhancements, like what do they call that? Improvement of life kind of thing. Paper cuts, I guess, is what I would call it. A couple paper cuts here that are removed. Now there's a section for expressions, and you can grab just the expressions over for your M code or your variables or parameters. You can see those directly in the code. You can drag over an individual section. So previously I had to drag over the whole table or all of the Tyndall code. Now I can grab just the measures, just the perspectives, and just the relationships. Makes sense. I mean, this is Rui. You are spot on. Dude, you know what you're doing. You're building good developer tools. Keep going. I love this.
You call that a paper cut fix, but man, how many paper cuts have I gotten from this? And I'm doing a lot of typing, but a lot of times, I'm just going to drag that. It creates a new tab. It's frustrating. It felt so unintuitive. Yes. And I love when we have features like this that just add to the experience that you're already in. So no, I agree. The Tyndall one is huge here. Mike, I'm going to go a little matrix on you do you have anything else with Tyndall?
Nope. That's it. I just wanted to call it the Tyndall one. I like it. It's a good feature. Solid for developers.
Yeah. Every now and then there's something that comes out with Power BI and I feel like I'm out of the matrix or into the matrix, however you want to put it. And the more that they're doing with the editing, the model and the service, I feel like it's just in a surreal world that I'm not accustomed to, even though I've been doing quite a lot with it. And the big updates here is Power Query in the service for editing your model. So again, where did Power Query first come out in Power BI service? Data flows. Then you had Datamarts.
Yep.
And then it kind of got stuck. And then you had Fabric, and we had Data Flows Gen 2, but that normal experience that people are used to for developing a semantic model wasn't there. And then they introduced this idea where, hey, you have a model in the service. Well, rather than you can edit your DAX, which was possible, but you couldn't edit Power Query, they've not allowed that, and they're making this easier for native queries and error handling in Power Query. Mike, this experience to me, I feel like I'm out of sorts sometimes. I love it, but doesn't it feel just almost like you're not supposed to do it? Like it feels like almost wrong.
Taboo a bit?
Yeah, a little that's the word I'm looking for. It feels a bit taboo to be able to edit the Power Query of a semantic model in the service.
Nope.
Oh well,
Go back to
I know.
episode 1. This is the way we're going. I'm good with it.
Yes.
I like it a lot. So I'm very happy with edit your model in this. And again, to your point, Tommy, right? If there's an import something going on in the service,
right?
Like sometimes you just need a little quick change to something, or add a column here, or something does not like something. I'm fixing something, right? I should be able to fix this stuff in the service, no problem. So to have all this, in the service available to me, I can go ahead and edit the data model right there. Power Query just shows up and we're happy. I like it a lot. I wish there was more of this around the embedding space. I wish embedded solutions could start leveraging a little bit of this as well. Like, hey, here's a semantic model for a customer, and the customer could make slight changes or modifications to their semantic model. It'd be nice if it extended a bit. But for this, I like this experience. Again, this is one more push that I'm getting to let me get a bit further away from requiring me to have desktop. And even now, we were talking, I think it was a couple days ago, or I was talking in a class, you can now connect to the SQL database, Fabric SQL database, and you get a semantic model that's not published on your local computer. It's actually in the service, already ready to go. So now I'm editing those models locally, but now the model creation side of it is actually becoming more service bound anyways. So I like that experience. I think it's the way to go. I'm going to continue to shift more of my workload or my daily work into the website. It just makes more sense for me.
The last thing I'll say is data analysts today, Mike, they don't know how easy they have it. If I had this feature when I was a data analyst or in 2018, oh my gosh, the amount of time these data analysts today, they don't know how easy it is.
We could do it. It was just you had to go buy a different program. It was like a Talend or someone, like it wasn't free. It wasn't part of Excel. It wasn't just part of Power BI. Download it for free. You get all this stuff. Like that's amazing to me.
You and I had to do our Power Query backwards in the rain. Okay, walking uphill. That's how
with paper shoes.
With paper shoes, exactly. Yeah. So kids today, they just don't know how easy it is.
So easy, and now they just talk to large language models. They don't even know how to code anymore. So different. All right. That being said, let's jump into, I think we're good. Is that all the things we want to talk about for openers?
I'm good, man. I'm ready.
All right. So let's talk about our article, kind of unifying data market pieces here as well. And with that, we've got a special caller to. You did hear that. Finally, it's working today. We have a special caller today. I'd love to bring back to the audience here. Brad, welcome back. You were here on Tuesday. You're here again on Thursday. We really appreciate you showing up today.
Twice in 1 week. I appreciate it.
We're striking gold.
I didn't do terrible on Tuesday, so that means I get to come back today.
I love it. Well, welcome. Let's talk more about what's happening with Datamarts. What's going on here? There's a unification. Tommy says it's getting deprecated. I say it's unifying. There's another experience here. Give us some background here. Like, what's from the Microsoft side? What's kind of happening?
Well, I don't think it's really a secret that this was going to be happening. I think most folks probably saw the writing on the wall. But according, as you see in the blog post that you were just referencing there, Priyanka had put this out, I want to say in May-ish timeframe, April, somewhere around there.
May 7th, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Datamarts are finally going away completely. So the question that we've gotten all the time is, when's the GA date for Datamarts? And we can tell you that GA date is never, because October 1st, they are just going to no longer be there. So the short time frame. So I'll probably say that October 1st date like a dozen times, just so people know that. But if you missed the announcement, like if you're on vacation a bunch, just coming back.
If you live in Europe, basically.
1st. Yeah, that's the big date. They're going away on October 1st. So got to do something before then.
Let's do a little. I'm going to do a little history on Datamarts and where they served. And so I also want to kind of point out just a kind of a big distinction here. And Tommy, maybe you can back me up. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Tommy. Datamarts was kind of like this, hey, we need some SQL-esque experience inside Power BI. And so to me, there was like a wind that had Datamarts got swept up in the wind of change. I'll call it that, right? Okay, so I'll expand my analogy here a little bit, right? We're in Power BI, we've got data flows Gen 1, we're building tables of data. Sometimes people were just clamoring for, we need some SQL. We want to run SQL near where our Power BI is being built. And so I think from this, there was a lot of requirements around Datamarts, and I thought Datamarts were interesting because it seemed to blur the line between the semantic model definition and like the tables and the SQL stuff of things. And I think there was a lot of confusion maybe initially when it came out, which was, is Datamarts a SQL database or is it the semantic model? I can build relationships in the Datamart, but then they get carried over to the semantic model. So it was interesting to me because there was like two technology stacks. Again, it's still SQL Server. It's SQL Server and SQL Server Analytics Services, right? So they were the same stuff and essentially ran on the same machines, but it was a blurred line between both of these. And I think that was a little bit interesting when it came out. But again, or premium per user, right? I think it was premium per user, but Power BI people could use this stuff.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it got silent. Like the whole Datamart, like we got it. It was announced. I remember doing some videos with Charles Webb to kind of announce this thing and like get some feedback and like, this is what we're going to be doing. I thought it was really cool. And I was just trying to unpack, like understand why it's there. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, we hear announcement, Fabric is coming. Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, time out. So I see what happened here. Like it was started, it was being built. And then all of a sudden a direction shift came from leadership and said, we're going to build all of the data platform things. We're going to basically migrate Synapse and all of its richness into a more Power BI centric ecosystem, which I think was the right move. And now here we are. So now we've kind of stopped development on Datamarts. We then developed all this new stuff around data warehousing, SQL databases, and Fabric. And this is kind of where we're going to land. So let me just pause right there. Tommy, was that your impression too?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
The problem was timing. If Datamarts came out 4 years before, it probably would have taken up a lot more. But I was looking at when we talked to Charles, that was August of 2022.
Yeah.
Not 6 months later or 8 months later was the announcement of Fabric that came out, which kind of took all the wind out of the sails. And I know for me, when Datamarts came out, a huge amount of testing, Mike. I was going gung-ho.
Really?
Yeah, because I thought this was a bridge that a lot of, we'll call them problems or a lot of scenarios could solve for. But again, once you heard about Fabric, well, okay, it sounds like this was what Datamarts was trying to do or wanted to do, but then Fabric is really going to be what that solution is going to be. And I think that took a lot of wind out of the sails. I'll say that with, hey, Mike, we've gotten a ton of mailbags around Datamarts where there are organizations we know today who rely on Datamarts heavily.
Well, not until October.
Not until October, but they do. And hopefully they're listening today because they're going to realize this. So, Brad, let me bring it over to you here. And this whole journey that we're talking about, this sounds, I guess, similar from the Microsoft point of view and maybe even that collusion between Fabric and Datamarts and what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, like you guys were saying, this kind of came out and then 6-8 months later, we announced Fabric and all these things kind of change. But I think in a lot of ways, Fabric is kind of the realization of what Datamarts eventually could have been. Like, I mean, sure, there's a specific path that you have to go through to get data into a data mart. There's limitations on what you can do with the data once it's inside the data mart, like how you update it and interact with it. But it gave you a lot of the things that you see built into the default experience inside of Fabric. So like you go build a lakehouse or a warehouse, you've got the SQL endpoint there to just be able to query the data. And you go in there and you've got the default semantic model that's tied up to it. And you can go ahead and do your, build your relationships and build some measures and things like that. So that's where I say, I do think that Fabric kind of took what Datamarts were going to be and just said, hey, here was an interesting preview of that. Now look at all these other fantastic and amazing things. And, we talked on Tuesday a lot about the lines blurring between like data warehouse engineers and data lake, Python, data science folks. And to your point, Mike, I think this has done a lot of that. Datamart set the stage for a lot of that same sort of stuff here, blurring that line between, well, what can I do through reports and now through Datamarts, but now I want to do all these other things. Like I know a little bit of T-SQL. Maybe I don't know a ton of it, but now I can go do all these other things now that I've got the option to use Lakehouse or Warehouse or whatever that happens to be. So I think it's cool that we're kind of opening it up beyond much further than what it was in Datamarts. But if you liked exactly what was there, like I just want to load the data with the low code, no code experience and then build a model on top of it, like by all means, go do it with the warehouse and stuff today. But so yeah.
And we're not so I'm gonna poke a bit of fun here. We're going from one preview item to a new preview item. I think, Brad, you don't even know where I'm going here. So, if you don't want to go full data warehouse, which is GA, it's out, it's running, you can go use a data warehouse. If you want to stay in the more of that SQL space, you can go from Datamarts, which is in preview, and you can more than happily stay in preview and hop on over to SQL databases, which is also in preview. I will say this, though. The level of effort behind SQL at Microsoft in general, 100%. SQL, the SQL database in Fabric will 100% make it out of GA. I guarantee that's going to be a thing.
Better.
Because it's Datamarts. I can't guarantee. We couldn't guarantee that at the beginning, but I feel really confident, 99.9%. I'll even go as far as saying I'm 4 nines deep on this one. 99.99, like the full, resilience here. I will say that will become a real product because it's actually a strategic investment by Microsoft to make sure that SQL lands well. And I want to point out with this comment as well, yes, we're talking about, going from Datamarts, and I'm poking a bit of fun around Fabric SQL. It's not GA yet. We'll get there eventually. But I do want to point out Priyanka's highlights that I thought were really relevant, right? There is some of these onboarding ramps that were made really easy with the Datamarts, right? Simple, low code centric, easy to provision. It was easy to manage. There wasn't a lot of bells and whistles. You didn't need a lot of knobs to make it go, which I loved. And then it had seamless integration with Power BI. The easier you can make it for me to get data into a semantic model, the happier I will be. Like that's just, as long as you keep sticking to that as like a core value, make it easy to get data to semantic model, everyone will be happy about that. So I really like that part. But then the requested features, I think, is great. Now, again, I don't use a lot of DDL or DML support, but the fact that that wasn't available for Datamarts. You didn't have any Git integration. You couldn't back them up. There's no auto backup capabilities. And then if you wanted more security than what's given to you out of the box based on just the workspace access, there's nothing, right? So to your point, Brad, if you give someone like half of SQL, they're always going to be unsatisfied and they're never going to be like, I love it. Thanks for giving me half of what I could do somewhere else in full. Yeah. So I think actually properly rethinking the idea here and bringing to Fabric the full SQL-like experience with all the rich, Azure SQL database experiences, bringing those forward and just landing them in Fabric, I think is the right approach. I mean, this is the full materialization of all the right features. I'll just pause there. Brad, what do you think?
No, I 100% agree. And to be fair, we get that complaint, fully transparent. We get that complaint with the data warehouse today. It's like, we've got these features that are available in SQL. You tell me you're SQL, but now I can't do a merge statement or identity. Like some of the stuff we talked about the other day. Mm-hmm. Like okay, well, we're getting there. It's great. But, on this topic here, exactly. If you just want to do something simple, like maybe you got a script that just builds out your date dimension, for instance. It's very easy now to just go in. Like if you've done data warehousing for long enough, you probably got a T-SQL script that'll just go generate all that stuff for you. So it's really easy to now just go in and just run T-SQL script where you couldn't do that with the Datamart. So even just little things like how there's this one record that's messed up. Let me go update it and run an update statement with T-SQL. Like even just little things like that, being able to reduce some of those friction points, I think is going to be big. And like you said, it's giving Fabric SQL DB as the option for a place to land this. Again, even though it's preview right now, go GA later. That's going to open up even more things with Fabric in general, again, that you couldn't do in there. So as far as getting things easily into a Power BI model too, Fabric as a whole, with Direct Lake and everything, that's going to be a big advantage over here on this side as well. If people do have these smaller data marts and they just want to say, hey, let me go with Direct Lake and just get the data in there, then all the data is already out there in the Parquet format. We can go put that stuff into Direct Lake and all that kind of stuff, whether it's SQL DB or inside the warehouse. And again, let's bring it all together. Use the shortcuts and bring stuff from other places if you want. So
shortcuts are amazing.
It's super easy to just start small and then combine all these things together now.
That was one of my complaints around the SQL stuff, which was Delta lived somewhere in a storage account, and the SQL databases just was difficult to get it to read stuff from Delta.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, again, now that we're talking about Fabric, it seems like Fabric has this mentality of everything must be able to read and write Delta, like across the board.
Yeah.
All the computes must talk to it. And I think that just for me, as the user of this, I'm glad that Microsoft unified on the Delta platform, Delta Lake, as the standard. Again, they were enhancing it and make it their own thing, like vOrder and other fun, cool stuff. But I really like the fact that it's just going to work and I don't have to worry about it. And I know everything can get in there. Sorry, Tommy, go ahead.
No, I have 2 bones to pick with the article, unfortunately. Here. So
all right.
one with the title.
I think I need to go.
No,
Brad's got a meeting. He's got a.
So one with the title, because it's so happy for something that's ending. Like, this is like getting an email from my mom, like, Grandpa's going to a better place. Like, okay,
he's gone out to the farm. Grandpa's gone to the farm.
So let's be clear here: Datamarts are going away. But I think
but marketing wouldn't approve of a blog post titled "Datamarts are dead."
I've seen that on Azure, like announcing the deprecation or whatever kind of thing. We know a lot of the article titles are going through AI and Copilot. Me and Mike know that. It's not a secret. But
that's why they're just giving us fodder, Tommy. They were just. No, so this was the Microsoft softball to us.
So happy.
There you go.
Like, there we go. That's great. Oh, I can't do that anymore. Oh, I can't do the thing anyways. But the big thing, the real more honest question I have here is, Datamarts to me was the journey of the self-service, the citizen developer. And it really felt like that was the persona. That's who the aim was. I didn't have access to a Datamart. I didn't have access or the language Azure subscription, but I can now kind of create that infrastructure. That was actually a big part of the mailbags that we had. It was a BI team who did not have the data warehouse or SQL database to them or access for them to create. So they kind of makeshift that in a Datamart. And yes, they do have the Accelerator script now, but I'll refrain from saying the word problem because I think that's too harsh. But the situation here is those teams now are dealing with the warehouse. They can get the data in, but now they also have to have on top of that the skill, the T-SQL skill or the Python skill. They can't use the same kind of process that they did before. And has that been a kind of conversation at Microsoft or with this migration to the warehouse with the Accelerator scripts?
Yeah, so I think like one of the great things about just Fabric in general that you kind of alluded to there was like I don't have to have all this other infrastructure and stuff. So I don't have access to the subscription in Azure.
Right.
Like, the good news about this is like you're not losing that capability. We're still, you've got all these other things actually now that you can create inside of Fabric, not just the database. But for the people that do want that low code experience, to say, hey, I'm not a developer, I know my data super well, and I know what it essentially needs to look like. I can get it into that using Power Query and land it into the database. Like, continue just using data flows for that. Like, I wouldn't say do anything different. Just, sure, you're going to shift the back end, but you're still going to use data flows to be doing your modeling and your data cleanup and all those sort of things. So I think for the most part, for folks, it should be fairly well business as usual on a lot of those fronts there. It just, now they've got some extra things that they can do and some other places that they can pull data in from, and opens up some new possibilities for them. So I don't necessarily see it as a big paradigm shift for those folks. I see it as, my tooling is going to be slightly different. Like, sure, now instead of like clicking a button inside the Datamart and bringing up my Power Query, I do have to go someplace else. Like, I've got to go to a data flow outside of that in order to do it. So there's going to be a little bit of friction, a little bit of learning curve, I think, for folks there. But I think they're also going to find that it's not so much that they have to like rewire their brain for everything that they need to do in order to be successful in there.
I want to double down on that point because I think that's actually a super strong point, right? Would I rather hold on dearly to Datamarts and not have these features, or would I want to just retool my thinking slightly and get all the features? And I think you would argue, I think if you went to anyone who's using Datamarts today currently and said, look, I'm going to take away your toy car and give you a real car, they'd be like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's a little bit different. It's a bit more dangerous. I have a bit more control, but like now I have a lot more capability. Right. So I really do feel like this is a great upgrade to what we're doing. And again, Tommy, I'm going to take issue with your comment, right? We're not, yes, you're trying to emphasize a bit more the dramatic side of like the deprecation of the data mart. But I think the reason why the article is a bit more positive here is because you're getting all the things you were getting and more, and it's actually unifying the experience. So I really do feel that this is the right approach. And to me, I'm looking at it again. I'm also a very, Tommy, you and I are both very weird. We love Fabric. Like it's going to be part of our world. We're getting into it. We're learning it. We're figuring out how to make it part of our ecosystem of doing data engineering and reporting. It's just part of what we do. So when companies aren't embracing the Fabric side of things, this is just one more really big push for them to say, look, you really need to seriously consider getting away from just pro licenses and start thinking about rethinking your licensing strategy on how you get into the Fabric ecosystem, because you will want to play in this space. And if you're using Datamarts, you probably should be paying a little bit of extra to get into a Fabric SKU. And to be perfectly honest here, you can get this stuff at an F2. Like that's a very low price point for organizations to get started. And if you're a big organization, odds are you've already got a P or F SKU laying around already. You've already got the stuff in your ecosystem to like use this. So I do think there is a slight barrier to entry because this is now a Fabric only item, but I think it's an acceptable trade-off.
This is hopefully a shift that we begin to see too, because Mike, I know that we've talked about what's your beat on the street. What are you hearing from clients and organizations? Brad, I know you work with huge organizations and you're obviously in the belly of the beast, so you know where the shift is going. But we hear too for all the time where we're not sure if we should take the jump to Fabric. We already have a working infrastructure with Power BI. So for me, this bit of a comment initially is hopefully this is a shift now to, as we begin to see everything go to Fabric, and that's okay for a lot of organizations. I think they feel like they have to move everything over. Some of that's going to be forced on them, aka our Datamarts with the data warehouse. But I think hopefully we're beginning to see this shift to where you don't have to be the developer. You can be that citizen developer and still use the Fabric kind of playground, so to speak. There's a conscious shift here I'm also seeing around the data flows and Power Query too. Brett, I don't know how much you can speak towards how conscious, and a little love to Alex here too on the podcast, but how conscious has the effort been around Power Query with this as well, understanding that was a huge part of Datamarts?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously got to continue to be a place of investment. You're going to see a lot of stuff that continues to happen with data flows. Like that's not something that's going to lose investment. Like there's things we're doing around performance improvements and making the experience, excuse me, the experience a little bit better.
Write
in there.
Python. I'll just write Python. I'll just say that. I'll just throw it out there.
I thought you were going to say cost.
Well, no,
you're going to make Alex unhappy out there. So
yes, sorry, Alex. This one's for you. We're gonna jab you there later. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brad. Didn't mean to interrupt.
But no, I think you're just going to continue to see investments to make that the best possible experience that you can. I mean, like you go out to the Fabric blog every month, and there's usually one or two things in there every single month for data flows. So it's going to continue to be there. It's going to continue to be a heavy path of investment, I would imagine, so that we do continue to serve these folks. Like there are conversations all the time going on about like how do we make sure that we don't leave behind any one of these developer groups. Like you go back to the beginning of Fabric, and a lot of things were focused on the low code, no code side of things. And then we had a bunch of people that complained like, I want to be able to do this through code. And so we started to, make that a little bit more of a core piece of technology as it comes out, is make sure the pro code people are satisfied with that. But like we can't leave behind the low code, no code folks either. I mean, Power BI is built off the citizen developer. And I think it would probably be unwise if that were to go by the wayside. So, I guess the simple answer is there's going to continue to be heavy investment on that side. I don't see any way around that. And to you guys' point, like they're on the barrier of entry with getting into Fabric. Like I'll be honest, that hasn't really been a huge issue with this announcement that I've seen so far. Like, sure, there have been a couple of organizations that say, look, we're not going to Fabric yet. And on some level, I want to just reply and say, well, you kind of already are on Fabric. Like, you're just using a
You just
subset
don't know it.
of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
on
using
some
the light
level,
version.
you just don't know it, right? Yeah. So, it hasn't been a huge barrier to entry though for most folks that are looking at doing this. I think most organizations that have data marts are probably a little bit more data forward than those teams that are using data marts are probably a little bit more data forward, if you will, than
Sure.
ones that are purely just using Power BI and semantic
Yes.
models and reports. So they're probably already looking at the Power BI eco or the Fabric side of the ecosystem already.
Yes.
So not a huge deal there, I don't think.
I would agree with you, Brad, on this one. I think also, to me, the wise move here was the fact that I could get an A1. So again, I'm going to go back to like the legacy kind of pricing of how things were working for Fabric enabled things. You got premium, you had premium per user, and then you had an A1, which kind of started at about $1,000 a month, kind of a little bit less than that, but like it was pricier. The fact that we brought the Fabric SKUs all the way down to like entry level
$200.
pieces,
Yeah.
a couple $100 a month. Like to me, I'm like, okay, maybe you're skeptical. Is it worth 2 months of $210, $220, $240 a month for two? So is it worth $500 to experiment for things for 2 months to figure out, does this new world help you remove friction and getting analytics done? I would argue a $500 test around this, definitely worth it. And also,
what do you mean it's a $0 test? You get the
$0
trial.
test.
You get
There's
$60, 60,
that's
60
true.
days of
okay, so
F,
even better,
F64.
you get a 64 F64, which is awesome, by the way, has a lot of power to it. But like you get an F64, it's free. You can test it out today. Like there's zero trial effort. And so if you feel like you can put your stuff down, you can build some things that you want, and you can say, okay, how much usage do I actually get or need to use to evaluate whether or not this is going to be a place where we can invest in or not. So I really do feel like that step, the barrier to get into it, is almost not even there. So I'm super pro on this. I think every organization should be trying it out, at least figuring out, does this extra spend equate to the value you think it delivers? My argument is it adds way more value than the cost of the product, as long as you think about the design and what you're trying to do with it. Yeah, I wouldn't start by running my first Fabric environments with a whole bunch of data flows Gen 2, but there is a lot of other things in there that I think really help you out
Alex.
as
Again.
Sorry, Alex.
well. He knows it. I'll say it to his face. Like,
Well, and I think this is the hardest thing, because here's the thing, Brad, you're in a tough spot because you're trying to make everyone happy with all these products, the hardcore developers and these citizen developers. Datamarts had a very narrow lane, right? It was that BI, more or less citizen developer. They knew how to do data flows, they knew how to do DAX, but they probably weren't in the Python notebook data engineering side of things. And now you're giving them the warehouse where, it's a full developer stack, but we're also saying at the same time citizen developer. So as much as you can answer, like how do you make everyone happy? How do we make everyone happy here?
You're never going to make everybody happy.
No, you're never going to make it.
But I think that's one of the great things that we're doing with the warehouse, and why I like that. I hate to say this, and I don't know if this will get me in trouble, but I kind of like the fact that at this point in time, like when this all happened, that SQL database wasn't GA. So it is pushing some more people to look at the data warehouse. And maybe that's selfish of me because my focus is more on the data warehouse side. But at the same time,
fully acceptable.
I do think that we're doing a lot of stuff in the data warehouse that does help the folks that you are describing right there. They just want to be able to go in, have some place to put their data, and not have to worry about all the other stuff to manage a database or anything. And that's not to say that the user experience and that we don't have a bunch of like things to autonomously help you run your SQL database in Fabric. There's a lot of stuff on that front that we are doing. However, the warehouse side of it, we've from the beginning, the goal and North Star, which of course you'll never quite hit. But the goal has always been no knobs performance and a no knobs environment that just runs and works. And
Yes.
so like they don't have to go in and know, like we talked the other day about data distributions. Like that's not something they've even got to worry about. Like the data flow will create the table for them even. They don't have to worry about writing a create table statement. We'll handle all the stats and indexes and all the data compaction, like all the things that you normally would have to worry about with running a database system that you don't have to worry about on Datamarts. We're going to do basically all those things for you already on the warehouse. Like that was one of the things that we just did by default from the beginning. So as far as making everybody happy, like, sure, I think the people who are going to continue to be the least happy with the experience are going to be the pro code people, just because in this SaaS world that we live in with Fabric now, you don't get as many knobs. So the people who aren't expecting the knobs are going to continue, I think, to be very happy, whether they land on SQL DB with this or with Data Warehouse. So,
Mike,
I would agree.
Yeah,
I'm going to agree with this one very much. Microsoft is playing a very fine edge here along this line, right? To your point, it needs to be like all the performance, no knobs, easy to go, like sliders, everything, right? I need more performance, slide it up. I need more storage, slide it up. Like it just needs to be like, okay, or even it just handles all of it. I don't have to do the knob stuff, right? That's what everyone desires. But we all know, and this is, I mean, I were talking about this the other day, which might come out on a future podcast, which is this whole data noodly mess of like if we didn't have semi-structured data, we wouldn't need lake houses. If everything was in tables, you'd have one system. The whole reason these multiple systems exist is because the systems are designed to handle a certain kind of problem, right? Kusto exists for a reason. SQL exists for a reason. Warehouses exist for a reason. There's all these different use cases that are needing to be built and solutioned, right? They're trying to solve the problems potentially slightly different, and the technology under the hood has to slightly adjust. If everything could fit into one system, we would just have one database structure for everything. It would all fit into the same place. And so this is the evolution of technology. There's just all these different opportunities to solve different problems here. And so going back to your comment, Brad, it's not, we do need all the we need all the pro developers are going to want all the bells and whistles. They're going to want all the knobs. They're just going to want, that's just how they are. They're used to it. They've trained on it. They're comfortable with it. There's other people, the business user world, that's coming to this data space and they don't want the knobs. They just want it to work. And I think it's hard to find that balance of here's a solution where there is no knobs, but if you click this button, here's all the code that exposes all the knobs. It's very difficult, I think, for Microsoft in general to validate or verify. Like if you think about the audience of size of things, there's probably going to be less pro developers than there will be common everyday consumers of stuff. So if you're trying to build a Fabric product that the most users can get access to, you're not going to initially design for pro developers because they're in a smaller subset of the broader ecosystem. So I think you're going to have to kind of land the first wave of a lot of these solutions with okay, we know there's a lot of complicated bells and whistles behind the scenes knobs. We'll hide them initially, but slowly expose them as pro developers get them. And we have time to like land the product. Do people use it? Is there a lot of usage happening at the warehouse or the SQL level? Yes. Now we can invest more internal resources to go finish out the features for the pro developers. I'm a pro person. Tommy, you're a pro person. We want all the bells and whistles day one. Behind the scenes, easy to access. But I know that's not physically possible. It just doesn't happen.
Or we, Mike, you and I literally had this conversation on our last episode last week. Basically, is the UI to making things too easy or too hard, or we develop in the right hand. We just put a toggle called Tinker mode. Maybe that might be my secret Santa to you this year, Mike, where it just unveils everything kind of thing. You can have the nice UI or you can have this large toggle database.
I like the way that sounds. That's fun.
Yeah. Now with Fabric, you can go into Tinker mode, and there's actually no UI at all. It's just a bunch. It's just a command prompt. It's just just a command line.
Like MS-DOS, yeah.
Yeah. LS
I mean, you can
workspaces.
use the CLI will do that for you.
Exactly.
Finally, I can get my terminal. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you log into PowerBI.com, you now need to memorize all these Linux or Unix commands that you should run to even see your. And it'd be better if you could just have an ASCII key report just appear. Like, so it just prints the whole report in like ASCII characters for you, and you can see that right there. No report needed. It's super fast.
That would be kind of incredible. So as long as I can. I'm not going to go. Should I go nerdy? Yes. So that would be fine with me as long as I can use NPM, because there's an NPM package called Ask AI, which all you have to do is you just say ask whatever your question is. It'll prompt the command. So let's do it.
Boom.
So,
let's do it.
Nerd away. Sorry.
I think the only thing I don't want to have to go through code to find is like to navigate the capacity metrics app as code only.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be way easier.
Nightmares.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Otherwise, I'm all on board with this. I'll see if we can make the request to the right people.
Yes, exactly. Amir, if you're listening
to
this one,
Haroon, that to be in preview. Yeah,
we really want a command line only PowerBI.com environment. Just let me add a little URL parameter that says command line only, and there's no UI. It's just a command line. That's all I want.
PowerShell, baby. Yeah. So
PowerShell reporting. Yeah, love it.
I do want to mention. I know we're getting already in your time. This has been a great conversation, but Brad, we were talking before, and I know you and Alex actually worked on this idea of these accelerator scripts. So for people listening on, like, hey, you know what? I do need to make this migration. Do I just have to build everything again? Would you mind just kind of speaking to what you've been working on and why people need to know about this if I'm using Datamarts?
Yeah, for sure. So, we'll mention it again. October 1st is the date to keep in mind. And that is really why we put together the accelerator. Just coming up on close to a year ago, I guess. And it's like we kind of knew something was going to be coming with this. We didn't really know the time frame as to when it was going to be coming. So we're like, well, we should probably get folks ready to be able to do this. And like the whole goal of that, and I'll be honest, I wrote a very small piece of that. I wrote the PowerShell piece that pulls the data schema and moves it over. And then Alex did all the fantastic magic. So he gets all the credit for all the cool stuff in there, that the reporting side that people care about. But we basically said, look, there's two pieces that we've got to move whenever we're making this transition. We've got to move, obviously, the data mart itself with the data and the schema and all that. And then we've also got to move the reports and the semantic model. And so we said, well, this is a good opportunity for us to at the same time also showcase some of the new functionality that you get with Fabric with like direct lake mode. And so the accelerator, there's some scripts out there in the blog post that we've been talking about, and on the Fabric toolbox that's out there as well, where it's a two-part script. One is a PowerShell script that goes out and you say, here's my workspace, here's my data mart, give me the name of it, and we're going to go in and we'll script out all of the tables that are inside of there. And at the same time, we'll convert it over to the correct data types and syntax and everything to work on the data warehouse for you. And you tell us where your new data warehouse is that you're going to land it, and we'll go ahead and actually apply that schema over there as well. So it's pretty easy. Like you only need like 5 pieces of information you type in. Where's it coming from? Where's it going to, essentially?
Yep.
And so that takes care of like, we don't have invarchar support over on the warehouse, or we don't have like date time only goes out to precision 6. Like again, all these things people probably don't even, if you're building a data mart, you don't know or care about, like we're going to take care of those pieces. And then the second half of that is you say, all right, well, I've moved my schema and everything. Let me go actually take all the semantic model that I've got associated with my data mart. We're going to create a new semantic model. We're going to use semantic link labs. If folks haven't used that, amazing.
I love that tool. Amazing.
Another one of the folks from CAT that works on that. And so we're going to use semantic link labs, and we're going to say, all right, let's go and basically recreate the model over against the warehouse, and recreate all my calculations and all those sort of things. And then we're going to give you the opportunity at the very end of that to say, all right, let me look and see what reports were associated with this data mart and the semantic model. Let me rebind all those reports over to the new one. So the only thing that doesn't come over with all this, and of course there's going to be edge cases, like not every report's going to move, and some things aren't going to be compatible here and there. But for the most part, it's worked out really well from folks that I've talked to that have used it. But the only thing that it doesn't actually move at the end of all that is the data that was sitting inside the Datamart itself. So at that point, it's kind of up to you, because there are a lot of options at that point, what you want to use going forward. Do you want to use pipelines, or do you want to continue to use data flows? So there's a little section at the very bottom that says, hey, if you want to continue to use your data flows, here's some guidance on how to get your existing M query and move it over into a new data flow Gen 2 in order to be able to load the data and go push it out there. So we get you the most of the way there. We get your objects, we get your models, we get your reports, and then we even give you some guidance on how to move the data flows. But if you want to from there, it's kind of a choose your own adventure as to which way you go forward from that point.
So for those of you who are listening, I have created the link here. So there is a Fabric Toolbox, Accelerators, Power BI to Fabric Data Warehouse Modernization document markdown file, and in there is the Python notebook that you would need, all the things that Brad's discussing here, and how to migrate easily, get you over to this one. Very seamless. Alex, Brad, thank you so much for doing this. This makes a ton of sense to be able to have an easy button to get over to the new experience. And Tommy and I love Semantic Link Labs. It's
amazing.
I got to give a mad shout out to Michael Kowalski for kind of taking on the project and owning it. And there's now, it's not just him now. There's like a whole bunch of people that are now globbing on and adding features and helping and enhancing. So he's the one that kind of is spearheading it and leading that project. But goodness gracious, I absolutely love it. It's so good. But this is great. I think this is a great lift and shift mentality here. And maybe we should do, Brad, we should probably do a special demo here at some point. We do another whole series called Quick Tips. We should go through a migration at some point, just do the quick tip and just let you see all that stuff here as well.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we'll just call it the Accelerator points you to data warehouse. If you did happen to want to do this over to Fabric SQL DB instead,
yes.
or even to an Azure SQL DB, I think it would probably work fine.
Sure.
All you really have to do is change put the correct endpoint in there and the correct database name, and you should be good to go. So we'll actually, even though it's labeled data warehouse, you should actually be able to land it into SQL DB if you so choose.
Excellent.
I want it in the warehouse.
They have it so much.
Please put it in the warehouse.
Today.
Warehouse is so much better. Warehouse is so GA right now. So GA.
Yeah.
You know what, Tommy? There's a couple things here. Like one is, maybe we need like I still heart Datamarts, right? There's probably a t-shirt here at some point that's that. And then, data warehouse is so hot right now. Like it feels like a
Datamarts are dead. Long live Datamarts.
I'll wear the long live Datamarts, Tommy. You can wear the Fabric SQL everything kind of shirt.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I my closing thoughts here. By the way, Brad, thank you so much for just coming on the last few days and taking our badgering for a lot of things.
No, this has been fun. I appreciate it.
No, I think a big thing is that it's Mike, Alex, or Mike, whoever you are. I agree. It's geez Louise. We're 18 products and 10 people. But no, the big thing here is you're dealing with Datamarts, and yeah, it may be the retirement of Datamarts, but I think a better way to look at this is it's really the maturity.
The unification.
It is unification of Datamarts. Yes. Yeah. Actually, now it all makes sense. Now it all comes together. But really, though, it's not like we have nothing to give you after. We're just, you're losing like they're losing Microsoft Windows 10. Like my computer's going to lose Windows 10 in October. They actually have a solution for you here besides buying.
Tommy, it's like when your daughter gets married. You're not losing your daughter. You're gaining a son-in-law. Like that's what's happening here, Tommy.
Well, trust me. Let's not go down that road. You want that guy's gonna have to go through blood, sweat, and tears.
That's funny. Tommy's never. This just means Tommy is never giving away his Datamarts. He's going to stand up his own little VM to try and Datamart his way into a Fabric environment here. So now Tommy wants Microsoft. Now Tommy wants containers so we can keep his Datamart around longer. He's going to live in his basement.
Mike has every version of Power BI desktop on his
pretty
computer.
much every version of. I have probably over a terabyte of storage space reserved just for all
Just
the different
for
versions of
Power BI
desktop. I have the original Power BI Designer when it was originally like I have like a couple. I have in 2015. I have 1 or 2 installs of the original Designer back in the day, which I'm convinced Tommy and I need to do a quick demo of this. We'll spin up Silverlight and do all the things.
Oh gosh,
Get going again.
you're giving me nightmares. The first I tell you the first book that I did was Excel. Like I had the Excel services chapter in a SharePoint BI book, and I having to set up Silverlight and figure out Kerberos and Excel
Yes.
services and SharePoint. So every time I hear any of that stuff, it's like, it's such a nightmare. I'm so glad
dreams.
those days don't exist anymore. Just give me the cloud where I don't have to worry about all that stuff.
Exactly right. Everything should be HTML. All right, with that, we're going to kind of wrap here. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you, Brad, for coming on today. It was a wonderful conversation. Good awareness of the added benefits of now migrating away from Datamarts into the new world. We're going to get a whole bunch of new cool features. It is truly the unification story. I agree. I think it's the right step here. With that being said, we do appreciate you, the audience. We know you could have spent your time doing anything else, working in your data mart, going to migrate all your data somewhere else. You could have been doing something important, actually making money for your business. So we do appreciate you spending the hour of time with us. We know you could be doing a lot of other things. For those of you who are exercising on their bikes and running, good job. You've made it all the way through. We do appreciate you. Keep up the good work. That being said, please share it with somebody else. If you like this podcast, if you like what we're doing here, our word of mouth is the only way we get this thing out. So we would love it for you to share with other people so they can enjoy the chaos that is our episodes here. Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe and leave a rating. It helps us out a ton. And share with a friend. We do this for free. And do you have a question, idea, or topic that you want us to talk about in a future episode? Head over to powerbi.tips/podcast. Leave your name and a great question. And finally, join us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Central, and join the conversation on all Power BI Tips social media channels.
Awesome. Thank you all so much and really appreciate you. And with that, we will go ahead and wrap. Thank you so much for your time today, Brad. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you,
we'll
guys.
see you next time.